without getting into too much detail, seller was on the freeway and hit a cow at 72 miles an hour. He
That's pretty detailed,
when
Darren.
yeah, let
Just
me
kidding.
rephrase
Yeah.
that. Let me
There was
rephrase
blood all over the floor. The car was wrecked.
72 miles per hour was the speed of impact.
Curve is imperative, and the faster you're able to fall flat on your face, the faster you're gonna gain traction.
Fail forward, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about some things that Darren's doing, some new strategies that a lot of people that are listening may never have heard of. So one thing about me, when I message people on Facebook, as soon as they reply and I see it, call them on the messenger. But I always just tell them, I'm just trying to take action and just get whatever it is that we're going to talk about rolling. You know what I mean? I remember I was talking to Darren for a good half an hour, 45 minutes that first time. I knew nothing about him, just that he was trying to get into real estate, investing and wholesaling. And I remember him telling me that he was stuck on analysis paralysis, which just kind of means, the researching part was there. He was trying to gain more knowledge, and he just kind of got stuck in that constant cycle of learning. From that conversation to the analysis paralysis, but to the extreme amount of action that he's taken now and the success that he's having currently right now here, like we were talking about last time, is our acquisition engineer, or what do we call it? Acquisition engineer?
Transaction engineer. Yeah.
Transaction engineer. Yeah, he's a numbers guy. So he understands things. I wouldn't even say like the back of his hand yet, but he's running with those strategies, locking things up. And you didn't even mention the 3 or 4 that you have in contract outside of our team, right? Did you?
Yeah. Yeah,
He's going on like 6-7 contracts in the last 30 days or something.
And then that's 30.
Maybe 60 days.
I wanted to add on to what you're saying, Joe. So not only is he a numbers guy, but he has the capability to present the numbers in such a clear and he's able to present numbers to sellers that make sense to them, and that makes it to where it's enticing for them and almost dumb for them to say no, right? Make that offer good enough that it's almost stupid to say no. Darren is really good at that. I don't know where you get it from, Darren, but I mean, maybe you could shed some light on what goes on in your mind, or maybe share some insights when you do close deals, right? Because you're obviously doing it on a weekly basis.
And I think if you can think with that mind frame, and if you're able to create a narrative where your idea or your solution is the end all be all, then I think you have I think that leads to a high conversion rate. When Joe was talking about earlier how if he messages people on Facebook and when they reply, he'll immediately call them. Whenever I hear a concern or a problem, my wheels start spinning like, how could I solve that problem? And from there, I could reverse engineer how that would benefit them. So just, shooting from the hip, I think that's what I do. I think that's where I'm going with it.
That's exactly what you do, I would say. You ask the right questions, you figure out, and you reverse engineer. It's kind of like I took karate when I was 9 years old, so I'm deadly. My hands are registered weapons. 9 to 11, so no big deal. But those routines you learn, you're like, huh.
What happened?
You're like
karate chopped your camera, bro.
Nah, hey, you know what though, man? I wanted to say we got to try new things, right? And in this game of real estate, wholesaling, and specifically, especially with the ever-changing environment where people are adding on new tools, innovations, creative finance, installment program, you got to be excited to try the new things, and then ultimately you're learning from your mistakes. Sometimes you might get it right the first time, and that's okay. It's about figuring it out and what went wrong, and then trying it again.
Just building on what you're saying, Gerald, if you guys follow Jerry Norton, he goes over the legalities of wholesaling. 100% aligned with what he's saying, which is wholesaling is going to be a lot more difficult with the new regulations. So we need to learn more advanced strategies. And for the newbies, before you even get to the advanced strategies, follow the rule of 100, get your first deal, and then start learning these tactics. But I'm totally excited for it because it is harder, because the barrier to entry is harder, and you have to empower yourself with more knowledge. I feel like a lot of people will fall off, which will give us the edge. And so I'm excited for that, and that's part of my motivation of learning strategies such as the installment method, novations. I want to get into wholesale. We've had a bunch of opportunities of doing sub two and seller finance. Now we're not in that community, but we've understood it for so long now that I feel like we could take it down very easily. So for those that are starting, again, get your first deal, and once you get there, learn the advanced strategies, find out which markets are in need, and then just capitalize on it.
Yeah, this game, this game of real estate, um, is again, right? Just it's always changing. You got to adapt to new environments. I like to use like the analogy of a chameleon, right? It changes colors and it blends in different surroundings. That adaptability type of characteristic adapts very well to a new situation and learns from them. So having to be observant and quick to react, noticing changes, its environment, and reacting quickly. So with Darren, what you were just saying, with the changing regulations and being more, there's going to be a lot more rules. There's going to be a lot of more restrictions. So very similar to someone that is learning something new. Pay attention to what's happening, right, and just continue to learn and be observant and respond effectively to the changes.
Yeah, let's dive a little deeper into that strategies that you are using. So not only are we using a cash offer, which is
Hmm.
generally going to be lower than what somebody wants. That's where we're trying to get it locked up at to make a profit, to wholesale it to somebody who will rehab it when we're wholesaling, right? But now, not only do we use that strategy, we have subject to the existing mortgage, we have seller finance, but not only that, we also have, now that Darren has brought these strategies to the table, novations and it's the installment method, which is brand spanking new. It just got created a couple months ago of the different states that were banning wholesaling. But this strategy that Darren has learned has definitely created so much more potential to get these deals done when before all we had was a lowball cash offer. You know what I mean? And maybe you could talk a little bit about how a novation works, or how and how an installment method works. Actually, let's just stick to the installment method for now. Let's just stick to the installment method, why you would use it, and how the in and outs of it work.
The installment method was created originally in South Carolina because they banned wholesaling. Essentially, it's a tool that we use where we can get in contract with the seller. You are put on title with the seller so that you have equitable rights to now market it. And once you have equitable rights to market it, you can then refinance it, you can fix and flip it, you can wholesale it, or you could rent it out. But the idea is, in an installment method, you have to put an installment payment, usually a minimum of like $500. That gives you equity, a mix of a land contract and an installment sale. But
Mhm.
once you have equitable rights, you can pretty much do what you want with it. Just to go a little bit deeper with how I'm starting to see ways to use it. If you guys don't know, a novation is a way where it has the same mechanics as a wholesale, but it allows you to put things on market. One thing that the novation is lacking is a sense of security. If a seller wants to back out whatever money you've put in, you're pretty much shit out of luck, right? You could put a memorandum, and that memorandum is good for 1 to 2 years. If they try to sell it, you could try to get paid out that way. But what I'm realizing with these sellers is there's an immediate pain. So that pain could be losing a car, you know, having an injury, going through a divorce. So usually when they say they need a quick sale, It's because they just need a couple $1,000s. Now, when you're using a novation, you're putting those couple of $1,000s at risk because they could always change their mind and your money could be tied up for a while. So I'm learning with the installment method, it's a way to get more protection for yourself where you can create a win-win situation where you can give them more money and you're protected at the same time, and you're allowed to, same exit strategies, put it on the market, fix and flip it. You could do whatever you want at that point. But that's one way I'm starting to use the installment method, is understanding what their pain is, and giving them monetary value in exchange for more security.
So a novation, just for people who don't know the strategy, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've personally never done one yet.
Me neither.
Darren is the whiz on it, but if I understand it correctly, the novation is usually used generally to be able to allow a wholesaler to put the property on the MLS with an agent, and it allows you to handle that whole process. So the seller and you have an A/B contract for a price. It allows you to put on the MLS and you can make a profit, just like wholesaling, but it's just on the MLS, right? The installment method is kind of the same, where you can throw it on the MLS, but the difference is you actually are on title because you gave an installment or a down payment towards the purchase of the property. So now you're on title and you basically own the property. You just have a note or a lien with the seller for the amount that you guys agreed upon, right? So there's a debt there, but you're on title because you've made that initial first payment towards that debt. Is that correct?
You're almost 100% there. There's no lien. That installment goes towards final payout to the seller, but everything else is 100% correct. Yeah, it's non-refundable because making it refundable means you're putting a deposit versus putting an installment payment or equitable interest. You're putting that money down.
Kind of like a layaway payment.
Yeah. The idea is you're putting money down because you are going to purchase it.
Okay. And that's what allows you to sell it for a profit in a non-wholesaling state like South Carolina.
Correct, because now you're selling a property that you now own.
Boom. Before you make a full payment, you put down an installment payment, which makes you an owner of this property and allows you to sell it for a profit. See, that's crazy already in itself. That's so wild. But the reason I brought all this up, I wanted to tie this all back to how you are using this strategy that was created to allow people to make a profit on selling someone else's property. Before it was wholesaling, selling a contract. Now you're able to just sell the property and make a profit, right? Bypassing that law, little gray area. But what's crazy is Darren is actually working on one right now where he's doing the same strategy in a state that does allow wholesaling. Why would you do something like that?
Yeah, so again, going back to what Pace Morby calls the bunnies, I was able to discover that the seller's motivation, and the seller's motivation is, without getting into too much detail, seller was on the freeway and hit a cow at 72 miles an hour. He
That's pretty detailed, Darren.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that.
There was blood all over the floor. The car was wrecked.
72 miles per hour was the speed of impact.
No, actually, let's go with it. So, seller accidentally hits an animal on the freeway, where he then accidentally hits another car. Those people were not insured, and now they're suing him. So not only is his car totaled, but he's getting sued, and he needs medical attention. He's just sitting at his house at this time, and he's unable to do anything, go anywhere. He doesn't have family. He doesn't have friends. His closest friend is about 45 minutes away. I've discovered that he needs a truck for the next 2 months to be able to go to his doctor appointments, to be able to move his stuff from one place to another. I've also discovered that he already has a property lined up. And so by doing the installment method, I can give him a down payment for that other property and give him a rental to continue on with his life. he wanted a sale within 30 days. But based on our conversation, I can probably do a 90-day close of escrow because I've discovered what he needed at this time. And so by using the installment method, I'm able to give him what he wants financially. In return, I get more time.
So basically what you're saying is, instead of wholesaling the deal, which would give us, a set period of time where we have to find an end buyer, say every 30 days or so, 25 days or so. If we don't find it by that time, we have to cancel the contract to receive our EMD back. Instead of doing that, you've figured out a way to allow yourself to have almost 90 days or more to sell the property. You're on title. You're able to put it on the MLS, the biggest market of buyers in the country, allowing us to get the top dollar for the property. And the way you did that is by finding out small portion or, a portion that they need for whatever problem they have in their life, right? And in this specific situation, he got a car accident. He needed help with his medical bills, help with the insurance, and help with getting a truck to be able to continue on working and doing what he needs to do in life.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that this seller has multiple offers. I want to say the number one offer that I'm going against right now is someone who's willing to pay $40,000 more, but they need 90 days. So seller is literally walking away from more money to get money now. And I was able to figure that out.
And my bad, I keep interjecting, but what's probably going on in this situation, right? Where that other offer came in and that needed 90 days, they realized that this market, which we realized too, is a slow selling market. It's a rural market, not a lot of action going on there. So what they're doing is they're probably going to use that 90 days to try to wholesale the deal. And, then that's totally okay, because that's pretty much what we would have tried to accomplish, say a few months ago. But since this new strategy and Darren figuring out what the bunnies were, you got us in the deal, contract signed, getting put on the MLS buying agent to get top dollar in the time frame that we have. That's amazing, bro.
No, thank you.
The other wholesalers over there just trying to negotiate 90 days, 40,000 more, and it's gonna make how much? How much is he gonna make on that deal? When here now we get the deal and Darren has it being sold for a price that would not be for a regular wholesale investor purchase deal. We're getting a homestead buyer that's purchasing the property for themselves, paying top dollar, and we have the time, and we have Darren's name on the title, able to make all the decisions for the sale of the property without the seller's consent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, bro. Wow.
I would like to deal break another one, probably on the next episode, but I'd like to talk about our Hondo, Texas property. Seller had two offers that were creative. It was about $30,000 over my price. This was a divorce situation where they decided not to get a divorce. So, there's competition, there's love. Like, I definitely want to get into that.
Until next time on Iron Sharpens Iron. Hey, this is Iron Sharpens Iron Real Estate Investing Podcast. We're your hosts, Joha, Gerald, and Darren. We are All Pro Home Solutions. And signing out. About the kung fu, you know what I mean? Or about the karate.
Don't do it again. You're gonna kick yourself out, bro. Don't do it again. Stop.
When you do the routine with a partner and like each move is like either a block or you know what I mean?